Is here who's with the People's Voice and is a Métis member of the Métis Nation.
Thank you very much, Harsha. Yeah, I don't have too much to add to what some of the other speakers have said here today. People's Voice has been very pleased to work with Gurpreet and the other members of the Radical Desi magazine to begin to publicize in a wider way some of the issues that we're speaking about today, more about the history of this country. We distributed our latest issue here, which has a 2-page piece on the history of the Komagata Maru incident. Our newspaper is founded on the belief that people of all nations, all colors, need to fight for our democratic rights, for our working class rights, to stop the oppression that's going on, the dictatorial attitudes of the government in Ottawa, which seems to think that any rights that we do have are privileges that they bestow upon us. That's the way they acted earlier on this year when they tried to strip away the voting rights of many people in this country, to make it sound like voting was a criminal act unless you were somehow one of the favored people who had that right. Well, they were stopped in that case. They will be stopped in the case of Bill C-24, but it will certainly take an enormous amount of work by all of us together to reverse the trajectory of history in this country, which has been said correctly. It's a country that was built on the theft of indigenous lands and on the exploitation of working class people who came here. And that took place in many ways, many forms. Some of my ancestors, for example, who were driven out from their lands on the prairies not once but twice in the 1800s. So there's a lot of things that we need to know more about the history of this country as we unite and struggle to defend our democratic rights and our freedoms. I'm going to turn it over to my friend Zidane, who has more to say about the specifics of this particular situation.
Sweet. Hi, my name is Zidane, and I'm a representative of People's Voice, and I'm a permanent resident. I immigrated here from Egypt, where political repression is the name of the game. I came here expecting freedom, democracy. I mean, is that what they say to immigrants, to new immigrants? Like, you came here to the land of multiculturalism, where everyone is accepted and everyone is tolerated. Well, no, it's not, And, what do we expect? This is another manifestation of, Canada's systemic racism. I mean, what do we expect from a country that was built on genocide? What do we expect from a country that continues profiteering off stolen land, And I wish someone told me all this before I immigrated here, but, it doesn't matter, I'm going to be kicked out soon enough anyway. The amendments in this bill, in Bill C-24, I mean, it says that, expanding the prohibition against granting citizenship to include persons, engage in certain actions contrary to the national interest of Canada.
What's that?
Not only this, but providing for the revocation of citizenship of dual citizens who engage in actions contrary to the national interest of Canada. And what the hell does that mean? I mean, I'm an anti-capitalist activist. I am someone who recognizes the colonial history of Canada and the ongoing crimes of the capitalist, racist, sexist state that we live in. And I organize events and talks and perpetuate articles and ideas that expose that. Does that mean I engage in certain actions contrary to the national interests of Canada?
Yes.
Is that the freedom that we think we have? Is that the democracy that we think we have? I don't think so. The earlier speaker mentioned Mohammed Fahmy. Mohammed Fahmy is going to be in jail for 7 years now for covering the criminal acts of the military government there in Egypt.
Shame.
And what is the Canadian government, the champion of human rights, our government, doing to get Mohammed Fahmy back? Well, under this legislation, they can just revoke his citizenship and don't worry about it. I mean, you guys heard about what happened to Omar Khadr, right? I mean, he's a terrorist. He was convicted of terrorism in Egypt. You know what terrorism means? Means working against the national interest of Egypt.
Exactly.
Whether it's a military dictatorship in Egypt or a liberal democracy as we have it here, they're all capitalist criminals. They're all capitalist criminals. But I'm glad that we have a lot of people here. I'm glad we have a lot of people here coming out. A lot of people know this is dangerous. Together, if we really unite, if we really fight, we can reverse all these
Egypt.